Hi, welcome to the Little Birdie Secrets virtual Stampin' Up! Workshop. I'm Ann Beal Yancey and I'm a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. We want you to have a great, successful experience stamping, and the best way to do that is to get up in the craft room and start stamping together. I'm going to go ahead and get things set up here and turn the camera on so that you can actually see my hands working and see what I'm creating. Okay, you ready to stamp? Let's do it. It's a cute little 3x3 card, and I've got a couple layers here. And I wanted to feature this. We're actually going to watercolor using our watercolor crayons, and I wanted to show you how to do this because they actually talk about it in the Celebration catalog, and I wanted you to see how you do this technique. Okay, let's get started by stamping. So some of the things, the tools I have here is I have a water bottle, and then I have our watercolor crayons. Put these away. And I'm just going to spritz my paper to kind of get it misted up so that while I'm working on my my image, this is just kind of wet and the water's settling in on the paper. And I'm going to set that aside. And I'm going to come over here with this beautiful stamp set. This is called Heartfelt Thanks. And inside of here, I have some clear transparency paper that I've actually stamped some of my images onto. And I'm going to use this, and I'll show you what that's used for. I'm going to use it with my Stamp-a-ma-jig. So let me set that aside. What I do is I actually take my crayons and I color right onto the stamp. So I've done the flower base, and now I'm going to do the stem, and I'm just coloring right onto the rubber stamp. You can't see the green very well here because the rubber on this stamp set is green. So now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to hit this stamp that I've colored onto with a little bit of mist. Like that, just to kind of get the water flowing there. And I've already got my paper moist. You can see it's kind of curling here. When it's dry, it'll go flat again. And I'm going to stamp this right onto the paper. And because everything's wet, it's going to lend itself to a very watercolor kind of look. Just stamp it down there, hold it, and lift up. And if you can see here, it's actually starting to bleed. Let me see if I can zoom in here a little bit and get a tighter shot on this. So if you can see here, what's happening is that there's some of the image which is staying, nice and pristine, and there's other parts of it that are misting. If you want to at this point, you can go ahead and mist it again, just very lightly, and just let that mist fall down on it, and it helps the colors just kind of get wet and saturate. But it gives you a really pretty effect when you do this. So now the next thing we're going to do is we're actually going to take this outline stamp and we're going to stamp over the color that we just created. And so in order to do that, I want to make sure that this stamp is actually going to land right where I want it to land. And so I could just go right over it, which is what I normally do, but I wanted to demonstrate to you how to use a Stamp-a-ma-jig. Okay, I put this piece of plastic down here and lined it up, and I inked up my stamp, and I went down and followed the ridge, and I stamped it like this. Okay, and so that shows me where that stamped image will stamp every time with this wood when it's attached to the wood block. So now that I have this, I'm now going to take my image and I'm going to lay over, I'll do it this way so you can see. I'm actually going to lay this transparency over so that you can see right where it's going to land. And I'm going to leave it there, and then I'm going to come over here with my Stamp-a-ma-jig, and I'm going to line it up with that piece of plastic paper. Okay? So it's right there. And then I'm going to take that plastic piece of paper away. I'm going to ink up my stamp, and I'm going to ride right down on the Stamp-a-ma-jig, right where I want it to fall, and stamp. I stamped it off once here because I didn't want to have the black so dark. I just kind of wanted a light shadow. And so when I move it away, you can see that it lands exactly where I wanted it to be. And it's just a soft outline to show the details. And the more watery you make your watercolor paper, when you stamp it down, the more runny and smooth your image will turn out. So that's how you use a Stamp-a-ma-jig. Okay, so now we're just going to go ahead and assemble all of our pieces together. We're going to use our snail. Stick that down. Okay. Put all these little pieces together. This is our Raspberry Tart Designer Series paper, and I love it. I love the colors. And this is a piece that has got, this is actually Kiwi Kiss color here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take this little slot punch, and I'm going to slip it in here and just create a little half slot punch like this. And just kind of makes a little thumbnail punch. Can you see that little half slot there? This is our Crocodile tool, and it will do a 1/8 inch hole here, and it does a 3/16 hole here. So I'm going to come over here and use this 1/8 inch hole and just slip it in here and pop a hole right there. Okay, let's get these pieces down here. Slip this little guy right in under here like that. Okay, stick it down. And then what I want to do is I want to do our word heartfelt right up the side here. So I'm going to come down over this and just go right straight on top. Okay, to say heartfelt. Like that. Now, what we're going to do is we're actually going to take the string around, and I'm going to take the two ends on the hemp and I'm going to poke them up through the hole that was on the back here. So we get those little ends together and poke them up in here. Okay. You want that string to go all the way around, and then just pull it right up through here. And I'll separate the strings like this so that when I go to pull them, it'll cinch it down firm on the front of the card like that. Okay. So, and now I'm just going to tie a square knot. And that'll just hold the string in place. Well, I should say the hemp. It'll hold it in place. So I do left over right, and now I'm going to go right over left. And that gives me my square knot like that. Let's trim up our hemp there. Okay, so that's how I got this little basic guy. And now I'm going to turn them over and put some dimensionals on the back. These are our little foam raised adhesive dots that you can take off right off the sheet. 3 sheets come in a package for $3.95, and there's 100 of the dimensionals on each sheet. But you can also, if you need to, trim up the edges. And I'll save this and I'll just trim up the edges and use these pieces too if I need to for a project. So you actually get more than 100 pieces. Okay? And then once you put them on, you just peel off the wax paper that's on the back of each dimensional like this. Alright? And now I'm going to place it right down on the front of the card. Just center it up.